sentence says, the discovery helps to explain archaeological similarities between the Paleolithic peoples of China, Japan, and the Americas. Here we have two key phrases. One is the subject, the discovery, must connect with something in the previous statement. And then to explain archaeological similarities between the peoples of China, Japan, and the Americas. Archaeological similarities, that is another key reference. If you look at the different blanks, we see that we have two references which might connect with the discovery. One says, the statement before one says, also uncovered an unexpected genetic link. So we find that we might have discovery after this. And then the statement before 3 says, we were surprised to find that this ancestral source. Now, both of these talk about genetic links, unexpected genetic links, and ancestral source. It can follow with, it can be followed with the discovery helps to explain archaeological similarities. So we have 1 and 3 on the board. If you look at the statement before 2, it says during the deglaciation period, another group branched out from northern coastal China and traveled to Japan. This does not talk about anything which can be called the discovery. So we realize that 2 can be eliminated because the statement before this would be talking about the discovery. Again, it talks about explaining archaeological similarities. We see that the statement after 4, it says this suggests that the Pleistocene connection among the Americas, China, and Japan was not confined to culture, but also to genetics. Now, we have this discovery explaining archaeological similarities, only archaeological similarities. And then we say here in the statement after, if this were to be placed in blank 4, the statement after would say, this suggests that the connection between these three nations was not confined to culture, but also to genetics. How can we make the jump from just archaeological similarities to also genetics? That doesn't make sense. So we realize that the given statement cannot be in blank 2 or blank 4. So option 2, which says option 4, and option 4, which says option 2, referring to blank 4 and blank 2, can be eliminated. Let's clear this out. If we look at the first and the third blanks once again, we see that third is better because the statement before blank 1, it only talks about Native Americans and Japanese people. The archaeological similarities mentioned here are between the peoples of China, Japan, and the Americas. Now, China comes into the fold, into the argument in the statement after blank 1. During the deglaciation period, another group branched out from northern coastal China and traveled to Japan. So we find that the given statement, which talks about China, Japan, and Americas, must follow the statement after blank 1. It cannot come in the second blank, blank 2, so it must come into 3. If you look at 3 or the statements before and after, we were surprised to find that this ancestral source also contributed to the Japanese gene pool, especially the indigenous Inus, says Lee. This can very well connect with the discovery, helps to explain archaeological similarities because there's a common ancestral source, there's a connection between the genetics of the peoples of these three nations. So this explains archaeological similarities as well. The statement after that, it says similarities, it explains the similarities. They shared similarities in how they crafted stem projectile points for arrowheads and spears. Notice that crafting projectile points, arrowheads, and spears, that is an archaeological similarity. It is not genetic. So the statement after 3 is much closer to the given sentence than the statement after 1. So we find that 3 is the better choice between 1 and 3. So we can qualify option 1, which talks about blank 3, and we can eliminate option 3, which talks about blank 1. Thus, the correct answer is option 1. The sentence says, This philosophical cut at one's core beliefs, values, and way of life is difficult enough. First, we focus on the first part of this sentence, this philosophical cut at one's core beliefs, values, and way of life. We can see that as such, it may fit into any of the given blanks. There's not much of a system to eliminate them, but we do find this reference in the statement before blank 3. Sometimes philosophical writing is even strictly critical in that it does not even attempt to provide an alternative after tearing down a cultural or conceptual citadel. So we see that this talks about what happens after tearing down a cultural or conceptual citadel, connects with the philosophical cut at one's core beliefs, values, and way of life. So we find that the statement before blank 3, the one here, is an outcome of the given sentence, which means that the given sentence has to come before blank 3. It has to come before this sentence, the one highlighted here, which means we cannot have the sentence, the given sentence is in blank 3 or blank 4. So option 3 and option 2, which talks about blank 3 and blank 4, are eliminated. Between 1 and 2, we find that 2 is the better choice because we find a keyword connection. It might fit into blank 1. The sentence might fit into blank 1. The experience of reading philosophy is often disquieting. When reading philosophy, the values around which one has heretofore organized one's life may come to look provincial, flatly wrong, or even evil. After this, we may have this philosophical cut. When beliefs previously held as truths are rendered implausible, new beliefs, values, and ways of living may be required. So this might follow the given statement, but we have the sentence ending in, this is difficult enough. After blank 2, we have a statement starting, what's worse, philosophers admonish each other to remain unsutured. We see that this is very clearly a direct outcome of the given statement, or it directly follows. Is difficult enough is followed by what's worse, and then the philosophical cut at one's core beliefs, values, and way of life is followed by philosophers admonish each other to remain unsutured, to remain cut off from one's core beliefs, values, and way of life until such a time as a defensible new answer is revealed or constructed. So it fits better into, it may fit in blank 1, but then we would have what's worse not connecting to anything. What's worse connecting with the previous statement doesn't make any sense by phrasal construction. So we find that again we can eliminate option 1, which talks about blank 1. We can qualify option 4, which talks about blank 2. So we find that the correct answer, the most appropriate position, is given by blank 2, that is option 4.